Hey Rachel, how you doing today?
Good, John. How are you?
Excellent. So we're here today to do a little sneak preview of the new theme, Pets and More. Now, I suspect that a lot of parents maybe get tired of the constant questioning from their kids about, hey, can I have a pet? Can I get a parrot? What's the more all about here?
Um, the more is that we expanded our look at pets to animals in general. So, at least in the books, there's a book involves a trip to the zoo, so there's zoo animals, and then a couple of the books are set have jungle settings, so there's non-domesticated animals. And actually, one of the books is about how a kid has a pet book. So, does a pet have to be an animal?
Great question. And how about what can we expect to see in the talk on with this theme?
This is a theme that really lends itself well to something that's a terrific thing to do with kids, which is to ask them to um, swap perspectives. Does a dog like being a dog? So there's so many kind of avenues to go with that, and kids actually really love that kind of thing. Like, what if cats and dogs had to eat with forks, knives, and spoons the way we do? What if humans ate the way animals did? What would restaurants look like? What would they sound like? And then there's all the fun animal expressions that kids, likely maybe don't know, or if they've heard it, they don't really know what it means. Like a cat nap. Why do we call it a cat nap?
Yes.
Um, what does it mean to be a fish out of water? Have you ever heard that expression? Have you ever felt like a fish out of water? Fighting like cats and dogs, something that parents often do like to invoke when they're getting upset about siblings, especially. So
Yeah.
those are all really fun things to break apart for kids.
Oh, that's great. That sounds really interesting. Any particular books that you want to highlight?
Yes. So as usual, we just encourage parents to not only look at the books that are for their kids' age range, but when you go on the website, you can see all the books, and they all have the read aloud links. My Pet Was a Pet is for geared towards the younger kids, but it's a hysterical book about a boy who begs his mom for a dog, and then he begs her to get the dog a pet. Then he begs her to get the dog's pet a pet, and it goes on like that. Kids love that sort of very predictable, and
Right.
it's quite, and it comes all the way around full circle, and it has a lovely ending.
What was the
Uh,
name of that one again? The recording froze a little bit. What was the title
uh,
of that book?
Pet Wants a Pet.
What's Pet? Okay.
Yeah, that's a really cute one. Memoirs of a Hamster is just what it sounds. It's a first person diary account by a hamster, and it's hysterical. This hamster's name is Seymour, and he is a fantastic writer. Um, there's a nonfiction book called The Watcher, which is a very uh, pretty simple introduction to the life of Jane Goodall, and it begins with her as a child. And it is a beautifully illustrated book and will allow for all kinds of, I think, terrific conversation about what it means to the conservation of species and what's involved in that. And the book is really good at um, explaining for kids how you observe in the wild, and it shows how Goodall would just sit silently for hours and hours and hours, and try to be uninterested, so that the chimps finally, thought that she was one of them. It's a beautiful book.
Interesting. Oh, that sounds great. Hey, I'm curious, Rachel, how do you, because you pick such great books, like how do you, like, what are you looking for? How do you figure out which books to feature on these themes?
Um, well, partly, and Joan is instrumental with this. We're trying to pick books that are right for every age group. Beyond that, we're really always looking for books that will generate conversation. So, and sometimes just a humorous book, even if there isn't a lot of text. Um, and there is one in this, a book by Kevin Henkes, who's a fantastic children's book, um, writer and illustrator. It's called White Rabbit.
Hmm.
And it's really all about imagination. So everything that this white rabbit, who's out in the wild, not in a cage, encounters, he thinks, oh, what would it be like to be a butterfly? What would it be like to be a fir tree? And so that's a book that just will, even though there's such minimal text, you can bring up the idea of imagination. What do you imagine? What do you think it would be like to fly? What do you think it would be like to be a tree? And what in the book, he sees something that scares him and it stops his wondering.
Hmm.
What stops your wondering? Have you ever had that happen to you? So I think any book that allows a child to enter into it in some way is a good book.
That's great. Yeah. Well, you do a tremendous job, and you got another great series for this theme. So thank you very much. We'll see you, Rach.
Bye.